and my final video, taking me up and then across the Atlantic to a very welcome homecoming. It was an exciting start to the race. It was going well for us as we headed up to the Caribbean. We are aiming for the channel between Cuba and Haiti. But the wind slowed dramatically as we approached the islands. And before long, we were stuck in a wind hole with 3 other boats. There's no sailing without wind, so we held a team quiz across the 3 boats. After about 24 hours, the wind stirred enough to get us through the channel and into some better winds, and we headed off to Bermuda to complete the race. As you come into Bermuda, it is strikingly beautiful, a modern paradise. It is clearly a wealthy country, proud of its traditional housing and its traditional Bermuda shorts. There are many fantastic beaches. Our week on the island went quickly before we had to move on. Bermuda is not a cheap place. Most of us were running out of money anyway. New York and cheaper beer beckoned. It was going to be a short race into New York. So Robin came to see us off, and Magnus, one of our crew members, also our chief baker, baked some bread, telling us where to go. As the race got underway, it started to get a bit choppy. All of the new crew who had joined us in Bermuda were all suffering with seasickness.
Yeah.
Down below in the galley, our cooks for the day were also having fun. Have a look at that cooker over on the left. The winds continued to build, and we encountered a number of modest but sudden squalls. We were about halfway to New York, and we were changing watch at 3 a.m. in the morning, and we were hit by a sudden squall. The spinnaker was pulled around to the side of the boat, and the spinnaker and the boat heeled over into the ocean. Now, no one had time to get hold of cameras, and so here's a video of a similar incident taken off the coast of South America in 2019. Now here you can see what our nicely inflated Code 2 spinnaker should look like. And here it is laid out in New York, just to give you an idea of the damage. Okay, so here's our Code 2, starting at the tack and walking up here. The luff line's completely broken here. Well, not broken. There is a line here,
but the sail attaching to it has completely detached itself and ripped, and then that is then ripping all the way across, all the way to the foot of the sail, between the clew over there and the tack there. So that's quite a big rip, horizontal rip across there, and then we also then have a massive vertical rip here going up parallel, almost parallel to the luff.
Despite the damage to our spinnaker, we were able to sail on into the iconic city of New York. I was so excited to arrive. It was great to be able to take some time out to enjoy being in New York. Despite the long hot days in New York, Dawn was always on my mind, and I was wondering how she was getting on. Well, she managed to escape, and here she is in the Lake District, walking around Ullswater with a friend. And so finally, we leave for the UK and to cross the next big ocean, the Atlantic. I was excited to make the crossing and to head home, eventually back to London. We would head out across the Atlantic. Eventually going north around St Kilda's Rock, down to Northern Ireland, and then back across Scotland, and then down to London. We made great progress across to Northern Ireland as part of a small group of boats that made the best sailing decisions. We were going so fast, Londonderry and the Clipper race were not ready for us. Instead, the race was extended, taking us up to the west coast of Scotland and around St Kilda and into a storm. With the exceptional pressure on our mainsail, the halyard outer sheath snapped and the mainsail fell partly down onto the deck. We had to lower that and replace it with our orange storm sail, whilst we took several hours to repair the halyard and return to racing. Derry is well known for its welcome and hospitality. We had a few beers. We visited the famous murals from the Troubles. I had an opportunity to help paint the famous Free Derry Corner gable end. And in a more modern twist, we also visited the Derry Girls mural too. During the festival, the Clipper race offered boat tours and harbour trips to the public, and also took part in the firework festival. I had a great time in Derry, but it was cool and it was wet. And Dawn was telling me there was a heat wave, 40 degrees, back in the UK. My goodness me, I hope she was getting on okay. Clearly, all was fine. Dawn was out, meeting local politicians, visiting royal palaces, and doing some other things.
Here she comes.
I too was off to London, via a line start, where the boats jostle for position behind an imaginary line until the race actually starts. We were, of course, followed quickly by a storm and back to choppy seas. Eventually, we had a lovely sail back over the north of Scotland, through Pentland Firth and past John O'Groats, taking us out to the North Sea. To celebrate our final sail, a number of the crew agreed to cook some of their favourite meals. Ian and I took on the challenge, cooking salmon and chorizo with cherry tomatoes, all sitting on a bed of rice with green beans. In the North Sea, we passed some very large wind farms and many gas rigs. There was even one called Dawn. As the wind died, surprisingly off the coast of Yorkshire, the race formally came to an end and we motored on to London, past a very familiar Norfolk coastline. As we arrived into London, all of the Clipper Race boats were held together. We were quickly coming to the end of our adventure. Somehow we managed to fit in a quick beer before entering the Royal Albert Docks and returning to our friends and family. Friends and family were waiting.
I think it's in the front. Yeah, of course it is. There he is. That's in the front, isn't it? He's not looking.
I hung up my life jacket, number 22, for the last time. We splashed a bit of champagne. After 6 months away, it was lovely to see Dawn, family and friends, including my granddaughter Vivi. The following day, I arrived home to a surprise welcome banner and a paper boat made by the boys next door. I had a great time on the Clipper Race. I got to see some great wildlife, grasshoppers off the coast of Cuba, wild seabirds that came to visit, dolphins and yet even more dolphins, and the amazing leafcutter ants in a jungle in Panama. The Clipper Race allowed me to continue my sailing education, whether it be bailing out the bilges, baking bread, or handling large sails, I got to do all that I wanted to do. And the sailing was great. I got to see the ocean like never before, in warm days, in cold days, and in some bumpy old days. I even got to look the part of a sailor. We also had time for a bit of fun, as you'll see in this video as we sail down the west coast of America. And there we have it, the end of my clipper adventure. But who knows? Other adventures may yet follow. And of course, we can't finish completely without one final quick prize quiz. And the question is, how many nautical miles did I sail from the Philippines back to London? So I'll let you have a think about that for 5 seconds and then we'll go for the answers.